Close your eyes and picture this. From the vast African savanna, a pregnant wildebeest stops mid-migration, gives a gentle push, and minutes later, a soaking, wet calf drops onto the grass. Within 5 minutes, it's wobbling to its feet. Half an hour later, it's trotting after its mother, already dodging lions. The whole thing is quiet, quick, and almost painless. Now shift the scene to a primitive human camp. A young mother is in labor for over 10 hours, drenched in sweat, screaming in agony. Women from the tribe pin down her trembling body, while others wait anxiously for a blood-streaked life to emerge. The baby's head is too big, stuck in a narrow, twisted birth canal. Every inch of progress comes with searing pain and enormous risk. This doesn't look like reproduction at all. It looks like a living nightmare teetering between life and death. And this is the uniquely human obstetric dilemma. We're the most intelligent species on Earth. We invented tools, created language, even fly into space. So why did nature give childbirth a difficulty setting straight out of hell? Why is human birth so dangerous and so painful? Was our entire existence, right from the start, a forced and accident-riddled compromise? The truth is stranger than you think. Today we go back millions of years to see what our ancestors did that forces every human mother to risk half her life just to bring new life into the world. To crack the puzzle, start with your own body, standing upright, freeing your hands to type, eat, or hold a phone. This seemingly unremarkable act planted a landmine in your reproductive system. A few million years ago, our ancestors still lived in forests, swinging through trees on all fours like chimpanzees. To climb, they needed a broad, flat pelvis that could anchor large muscles. Back then, giving birth was easy. The birth canal was wide and straight, and the fetus slid out smoothly, usually in just an hour or two. Then, the climate shifted. Forests shrank, savannas opened up, and some apes were forced to the ground. Standing and running on 2 legs required a complete pelvic overhaul. The pelvis narrowed, grew more compact. The ilium shortened and curved into a bowl that cradled the organs. But this redesign had a terrifying side effect. The female birth canal became narrow and twisted. An S-shaped passage riddled with jagged bone, no longer a straight tunnel, and that was only half the problem. At the exact same time, a far more powerful evolutionary force barged in, the mind-blowing explosion of brain size. Surviving on the grasslands demanded more than speed and strength. It demanded brains. Tool making, cooperative hunting, remembering water sources and migration routes, navigating complex social bonds, all of this drove the human brain to triple in size over just 2 to 3 million years. The price babies' heads got bigger and harder. So the pelvis desperately tried to narrow while the baby's head desperately tried to grow. 2 oncoming trains colliding head on Picture It, nature as an irresponsible designer, forcing a massive screw into a far too small nut, or shoving a giant watermelon through an extremely narrow ring. Every push threatens to split everything apart. For a human female, childbirth meant not just extreme pain, but an extremely high probability of death. Without modern medicine, dying from obstructed labor, hemorrhage, or infection was the sharpest axe hanging over every woman of childbearing age. To any other mammal, this screaming, blood-soaked delivery would look like a self-destructive act that violates all evolutionary logic. So why didn't natural selection simply patch this fatal bug? Why let millions of years of women teeter on the edge of death? The answer might take your breath away. This is not a bug. It is the only perfect, painstaking compromise nature could find after being pushed into a corner. If the baby's brain had to stay in the womb until it reached the maturity of, say, a chimpanzee newborn, the baby's head would simply be too large to ever pass through the birth canal. Mother and child would both die, and that entire branch of the family tree would be mercilessly erased. So natural selection made a counterintuitive, outrageously daring decision. Don't wait. Force the baby out right when the head nears the critical threshold. Biologically speaking, every single human being is born premature. Human newborn's brain is only about 25% of its adult size. Compare that to a baby monkey, whose brain is already 70% developed, which is why it can cling to its mother's fur and dodge danger right away. A human baby, by contrast, is an unfinished prototype. Its head is squeezed into an elongated shape. Its bones are soft. It can't even hold up its own head or roll over. Left alone in the wild, it wouldn't survive more than a few hours. From a purely physiological standpoint, Ejecting such a fragile little body isn't reproduction. It's throwing your most helpless vulnerability straight into a brutal kill or be killed world. But nature's ingenuity is wonderful. Precisely because of this forced prematurity, a new evolutionary path was accidentally opened. The baby is thrown into the world while its brain is still a blank slate, so that brain can continue its rapid development outside the womb, soaking up sound, light, touch, and emotion. The reason we have such phenomenal learning ability, language imagination, and adaptability is that most of our neural connections are built and reshaped after birth based on the external information we receive. In a stunning twist, the mother's narrow birth canal nearly suffocated us at birth, but it forcibly expelled us from the womb, made us experience the world through our cries, and in doing so ultimately grew the most intelligent brain in the universe. Nature traded excruciating pain for limitless thought, but the survival logic doesn't close just yet. Expelling the baby prematurely solved one problem, but created another enormous vulnerability, the incredibly long dependency period of human offspring. A zebra can run with the herd hours after birth. A human infant is a bottomless pit that sends out high-demand alarms 24/7. For a year or more, it has no independent mobility at all. It can't cling to its mother like a monkey, and the mother, needing her hands free to walk and gather, can't carry it the way a four-legged animal does. This creates a terrifying deadlock. If a mother had to raise this premature, fragile infant all alone, she'd face an impossible choice: leave the baby to starve or be eaten while she searches for food, or stay and starve together. This paradox had to be solved, and the key to this deadlock lies in that same extreme pain. As we explored in the previous episode, tears are a weapon for building social contracts. The agony of childbirth and the newborn's vulnerability forced out the greatest social weapon in human evolution, cooperative breeding or alloparenting. Because the baby was thrown into the world far too early, it desperately needed protection and nursing. This crushing pressure silently reshaped the social structure of primitive tribes. When a woman cried out in labor and the newborn's first wail tore through the night sky, the kin around her could no longer be cold-eyed bystanders. The long pregnancy and hours of excruciating labor built an immensely powerful emotional bond between mother and child, and at the same time sent a powerful signal to the entire tribe: we are in the most critical life or death moment and need to be taken care of. Childbirth then was never just a physiological process. In ancient times, it was a help-seeking appeal, jointly launched by mother and baby and directed at the whole clan. Human paternal investment and the grandmother hypothesis also emerged from this same dilemma. Because women paid such a heavy price in childbirth, men had to provide food and protection to compensate for their own reproductive investment. And grandmothers past childbearing age poured all their energy into helping their daughters raise these premature offspring, which in turn extended the human female lifespan beyond reproductive years. The extreme agony of childbirth was a key that forcibly unlocked the door to highly socialized cooperation. Without this life, or death threshold, humanity probably would never have evolved such strong family bonds, let alone tribes, cities, and the whole of civilization. So the next time you hear those broken moans and screams from a delivery room, or hear how much your mother suffered to bring you here, don't see it just as physical torment. Behind all that blood, sweat, and tears lies the ultimate secret of what made us human. That narrow, curved birth canal is the most heroic triumphal arch in the history of evolution. Through it, we endured nature's harshest squeeze. We were roughly pushed into this world with underdeveloped bodies, but through those dozen hours of struggle, we traded for total intellectual transcendence over every other creature. This seemingly clumsy way of giving birth gave us the softest skulls and the most plastic, malleable brains, allowing the spark of civilization to be passed down, with immense difficulty yet incredible tenacity, amid the screams of mothers and the cries of infants. This is also a deeply romantic curse left by evolution. That we can sit here today, listen to a science program, and feel love and be loved. All of it originates from a moment long ago when an upright walking ancestor decided to use up half her life to bring an immature child into the sunlight, then protected that child with everything she had so it could grow. Yes, human childbirth is dangerous and painful, but this pain is not a punishment. It is the ticket price we willingly paid the universe for the gift of consciousness, emotion, and wisdom. If this episode blew your mind, tell me in the comments. If future humans could evolve to make childbirth painless, and we had to choose between growing huge hip bones that turn us into plump, big-bottomed creatures, or shrinking our brains back into mindless beings? Which would you accept? Throw your craziest, most rigorously thought out evolutionary ideas into the comments. The more absurd, the better. And to learn more hardcore secrets hidden inside your own body, hit follow and subscribe. We'll see you in the next episode.